Hey everybody, Bonehead from the Bonehead Podcast, and we've got some breaking news for you today. We've got something very cool for Blood Bowl. It's Jeremiah Kool. So forgive the lame intro. Games Workshop have, they promised us some news this week. They said something, did they say something cool for Blood Bowl actually? Do you know what? Did they do that? That would be shocking. Monday, alongside something for Blood Bowl. They just said something for Blood Bowl, and that something is Jeremiah Kool. So Jeremiah Kool is a first edition star player, a first edition Dark Elf star player, and they brought him back last edition as a Golden Era star player, I think, because the guy is just that good. So let's have a look at the article. So can we see the article? All right, we ignore all the do you know what, I think this is a useful place setting thing. So Bob says, do you have any idea what a GOAT is, Jim? The greatest of all time. The argument about the greatest Blood Bowl player of all time is hotly debated and frequently provoked by one of the players in contention for the top spot himself, the incomparable Jeremiah Kool. So we've got a Dark Elf star player here, and we can look at the model immediately. So incomparable is a fair one because he does not befit the style of any other Dark Elf player that we've got already. He doesn't have the dragon scales. He's got the classic Dark Elf armor, right? It is purple, obviously, but otherwise he's bare-chested. He is very lightly armored. He's very highly mobile, and he's very detailed on the face. They've done another great job with the paint job here for this model. I mean, it is very cool. So let's have a look and see what we can find out about him. Arrogant and fleet-footed beyond belief, Jeremiah took retirement in 2488 after leading the Dark Side Cowboys to numerous wins, picking up more MVP awards than even an elf as egotistical as him knows what to do with. Much to his chagrin, the conversation seems to have moved on since he pioneered the dump-off pass. He couldn't even get the Jeremiah Flick name to stick. Terrible skill. Trips, terrible skill, to other more affable personalities. When he guides discussions to the greatest of all time, people are just as likely to name Jordell Freshberries, but only if they're happy to receive a dressing down from the haughty elf and one or two sharp elbows to the gut. As a result, rumours are he's been returning to the pitch as a star player for hire. We've got some art here for him. Now, we always say, like, the model comes first and then the art kind of represents it. This art feels very different than the art we've seen recently. It might just be the focal point on his face. It's really good, but it looks a little bit like something you'd pay £10 for on a pier at a British seaside resort. Be like, hey, make me an elf. Yeah, anyway, moving on. Just like his golden locked rival, Kool has movement 8 and agility 1+. All right, I'm interested. Which makes him as slippery as he is swift. Block, dodge, dive and catch, and dump off ensure that this thrower can hold his own against the most concerted of tackle attempts. Okay, so we've got a movement 8 Edge 1 blodger. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do nicely. As a Dark Elf, his predilection for sadism and violence shines through as strong as his skill. Once per game, he can use his signature move, the Flashing Blade, to make a stab special action and sprint off before the marking player even sees the blood pooling on their jersey. So we've got a sight here of his special ability, which is called the Flashing Blade, because he is Jeremiah Kool, the Flashing Blade. Once per game at the start of his activation, once a game at the start of his activation, Jeremiah may declare a stab special action against an opposition player he is marking. After performing the stab special action, Jeremiah may then move before his activation ends. So he just gets a free stab at the start of his activation. So they are going heavy on stab at the moment, aren't they? This is, I mean, yeah. Got a lot of inappropriate things to say about that. Happy to play for Elven Kingdoms League's teams. So that's your 4 elves. Jeremiah Kool can be yours for just 320,000 gold pieces, which is an absolute steal for a player with over 620 touchdowns to his name and 91 fatalities. You'll be able to get this living legend later in the year when he's made available as an expert kit made from Forge World resin. All right, so Jeremiah Kool is back at a whopping 320k. That is a hefty price. What can we say about something that costs that amount of money? Glorial is useful at 150 to be a thrower for your team. 320 for a superstar. He is a superstar, right? He's going to get taxed up the wazoo. Most elf teams are tier 1, so in a tournament, you're probably not going to be able to run him. This is your league support star. And Jeremiah Kool, we haven't seen his stats. We do have his 2016 stats to have a look at in a second. Movement 8, Edge 1+, Blodger, Diving Catch, and the ability to stab and run away once per game. I mean, look, if he's got catch or something, I mean, Diving Catch is going to give him +1 to an accurate pass. 320 is a ton, right? 320 is a ton. For an elf team in league, 320 is really interesting because what you generally want to do is have some muscle, which I don't really get access to very much, or something that's going to help your team do stuff. This is why I quite like Glorial. You know, if you've got 350k to spend, then you're kind of looking at like, well, I can use Glorial to help get the ball around if I don't have a thrower that I want to get SPP on, because you probably do. Really, you want apothecaries, extra rerolls, maybe a wizard if you're feeling like it, and mercenaries are probably the best way to go. But right, let's have a quick look at his stats in the old edition. All right, Jeremiah Kool from the edition past is, right, he was 390k, movement 8, strength 3, edge 5, which equates to edge 1+ in this edition, armor 8, which equates to armor 9+ in this edition. Passing for this guy, my money would be a 3+ probably. Right, block, dodge, diving catch, dump off, makes sense, talks about that. Kick off return, loner, nerves of steel, pass, and sidestep. Dude, this is dirty. Okay, so if he has a blodge step piece with pass, and I'm going to assume on the ball and dump off, and diving catch as well, he is just a one-man band. Look, blodge, movement 8, edge 1+ means he is just going to be, I mean, really unstoppable. If he ends up with he's got kickoff return here, so if he ends up with on the ball, that's going to give him a few extra squares of movement to start with as well. This is a really interesting one. So Griff is the kind of archetypical player that you take and you are playing Griff ball, you are playing Griff, and there's also the rest of your team. This guy's going to do a similar thing. In a league environment, you end up losing SPPs because this guy's going to score a couple of TDs. If you want the win, he's going to help because let's face it, strength 3, edge 1+, movement 8, blodger, sorry, with blodge stepper is very hard to stop scoring. He's not got the vulnerability of a strength 2 piece. Like, look at Hackflem. Hackflem's only vulnerability is that he doesn't have block. This guy does, and he's got sidestep. Unlike unlike the infamous tournament that we streamed where Hackflem gained sidestep. This is really interesting. If he ends up being this, if he ends up with these skills, he is very, very, very top heavy. And I think he is going to fall into the same category as Drakenborg, right? As the Count, as Griff. Of those players that are going to be your whole strategy. Your whole strategy with this guy is to use him. Now, the cool thing is here, if he's got edge 1+ with dodge and block, he's actually not terrible at trying to take the ball out somewhere. He's vulnerable, right? Because strength 3 is fine. He's going to be able to get 1 die blocks with blocks. That's pretty cool. And with a decent edge, so edge 1+, 1 tackle zones 2+ with a reroll, 2 tackle zones is a 3+ with a reroll. Normally, if you're wandering into the edge of a cage, it's 3 tackle zones. So he is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got a 75% chance of him being able to walk into the side of a cage and take a 1 die block most of the time with block, which is basically a 75% chance of getting in there, and then a 25% chance of that ball, assuming they don't have any skills, being dropped to the ground there, which is a quarter of 3/4. So you're ending up with a 75% success rate, and you've got this. So you're looking at 18% chance of him just on his Todd wandering into the side of a cage and dropping that ball out. The downside here is that he's vulnerable, right? An armor 9+ is going to mean he is going to get hurt quite frequently. And when you're paying 320k for a star player, it becomes, I mean, very risky. But to be fair, it is a very cool model. And this seems to be the direction we're heading in Blood Bowl at the moment, where they are spoiling us with star player models. And each of these models is, generally speaking, very, very well sculpted, and they are tending to come with some pretty interesting skill sets. We are at a point in Blood Bowl now where I don't want to say it's solved, but there are definitely optimal things to do, and it's a really tough one because like you need either cheap stars or expensive stars that do everything. Jeremiah Kool is going to feel like he does everything. I think this is a big time hitter. 320k on an elf team though is going to be infrequently used, but when he is, your opponent is going to definitely get a name for himself. Is he the greatest of all time? I think Griff is better. He's cheaper and stronger, slower, but cheaper and stronger. But Jeremiah Kool might be the coolest. Anyway, we're going to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Let us know what you think of Jeremiah Kool in the comments below, and we'll be back soon. Cheers. No, happy blocking. Why did I say cheers? Happy blocking. Happy blodging. Happy blodge stepping.